This video is addressing the deaths that have occurred at Straitway Truth Ministry. Especially those that are being mentioned in this are those that have happened recently over the years. 5 of them will be mentioned. Others, they can be mentioned in the comment section and shared by others who know information. That way, more individuals can be informed and make the decision if they want to take that risk or avoid it. Period. First and foremost is the death of Brandon. Brandon from the Straitway, Florida group. After the testimony of Brother Bird, they have shared how serious believers were treated. Those who were serious in the faith, they were on fire. They were enthusiastic, serious about doing the work of the kingdom to bring forth the fulfillment of the Father's will down here on earth as it is in heaven. And everyone else who was in the Straitway Florida group, they were being religious. Those religious spirits would brush him off. And for him to take his drive, Brother Shannon, he had to take that energy somewhere else. And him being convinced and persuaded that he must be in a home fellowship underneath a homesteading so-called ministry that is really a 501c3 religious institution. He was convinced that he has to do whatever he can within the confines of that oppression. So whatever the Father gave to him, he was not able to express it, do it, and fulfill it because of the silly, foolish, and wicked limitations that have been set on him. Similar to how you go to church these days, as well as how you go to the Catholic Church these days as well too. Both of them want you to tone it down, to bring it down, to match everyone else in the crowd, to go with the flow and everything else. When the true born again believers, they had a different spirit in them, just like Joshua and Caleb. They were serious about doing this work of the kingdom, and for them, they were not like the rest of their generation who are playing games, as well as having religious spirits, especially those who were like Korah, Dathan, Debiram, who rose up against Moses and Aaron. So, Shannon, they don't want to talk about this. This is the first red flag. Because he was not favored by those religious individuals at Straitway Truth Ministry, they twisted and distorted the story of how he died, of how he lost his life, how he went off into eternity without a parachute. And the way they try to fix it, they wanted to say that he was being distracted on the road. He went underneath a vehicle. Hold on, wait a minute. That he was supposedly distracted on the road and took someone out. And then turned around and said that he was on a bike. He was distracted and he slid over and lost his life when he came into contact with the vehicle. So first, red flag right there. Twofold. They try to change the story of how he actually lost his life. And why? They wanted to project the whole entire blame onto him. They wanted to make him 100% the owner of his death, of his deletion, of his indirect bloodshed. Just like how the scribes and Pharisees were. They wanted someone else to do the dirt for them and hold themselves not guilty so they can go in and keep Passover, and the other feast days. When the Father knows them from the depths of the core of their hearts, their thoughts and intents and everything. Whatever they do not repent of, they are at risk of being condemned at the judgment when all is disclosed. Accordingly, second is Derek Minor. Derek Minor was beloved of those religious individuals, and it was, if I remember correctly, 2022, around the fall, Charles L. Jr. claimed that Derek Minor lost his life going off to practice, and when he had a negligent, when he was working the mechanics of what he's going to go do in practice, that there was an accident, a mechanical mishap, shall we say that way, a mechanical mishap, and he has some fragments, the problem caused a piece of metal to go into his leg, and Charles L. Jr. claimed on camera that it reached a vital artery in his leg, so when he was going to the hospital, in record time, he passed away. Then they want to turn around and make these, goodbye type of videos and messages and so forth to say goodbye to him. Second red flag there too is not only did he die, crossover, went off into eternity from something else, they also try to blame him as well too. 100% trying to make him accountable, trying to make him 100% owner of his of himself going off into eternity, so that they can hold themselves innocent and not guilty of him losing his life also. Third, those who know her name and can bring it up to get the exact name and the truth of the story, Straitway Truth Ministry, specifically through Charles L. Jr., by allegation, and as well as Michael Israel too, of Spiritual Combat's YouTube channel, who's part of Straitway Truth Ministry still, also made an allegation as well too, to fix the narrative. So the third death here, the third individual who lost their life and covered by allegation, was a sister, a woman who was cooking food with coconut oil. When she was cooking with the coconut oil, that was pretty much the only thing she could use for the oil from the information percentage. So they try to 100% blame her for only cooking with coconut oil and frying in coconut oil. Those of you who know about coconut oil and what it does, you can use it, but just not all the time. It can, for plenty of people out there, it can raise your bed LDL, and you wonder why you have heightened heart palpitations and raised blood pressure? Because you can only eat so much at a time. So they blamed her for pretty much cooking and heavy amounts of coconut oil with the food, and claiming she crossed over into eternity from eating all that coconut oil from frying all the food she would cook in that coconut oil. And that one there too, as a third red flag, they try to put the blame on her. For whatever reason, it's a behavior among demons. They didn't like her so much, so they had to make her look bad and try to fix the narrative too. Fourth is an older brother, where, like others who are serious about the faith, he was about getting into righteous fellowship and doing what has to be done. And with him, he was around a bunch of religious devils, a bunch of religious spirits, religious individuals. They have religious demons in them. So with him, especially being older age and whatever else was going to work on him, Michael Israel, if I remember correctly, in late 2022 or early 2023, claimed this older brother, this older man, took his double and went to the garage. He went to the garage and had a misfortunate situation. Mike Rosso said that basically the older man made two mistakes and tried to use that to say, see, you need to, and the whole narrative was to put pressure on putting fear on the people around Straitway Truth Ministry, especially in the home fellowships, to stick tight as a close-knit group out of fear, not for their righteousness, nor for their spiritual health, but out of fear. Trying to put the fear that they would, go delete themselves or have a misfortunate accident or incident, whatever it may be, if they were on their own, trying to keep the faith without being around a bunch of religious people, around a bunch of wicked individuals. So, Michael Israel spun the narrative on the show Spiritual Combat to blame that older man for going off into eternity and trying to put 100% blame on that man. And that's the fourth red flag there too already. And all of these situations were individuals who have been in, at, or on, or either otherwise tied to or around Straitway Truth Ministry have lost their lives. And what do? If they don't like them, if they're not wicked like them, they'll give them a bad story. They'll give them a bad name even after they lost their life. How much more evil can that be? How much more demonic and diabolical can it get? Now going to the fifth one here. This right here is too much. Rason Walton, the sub-cult leader of the Straitway Truth Ministry West Coast Brothers group, that Jezebel, that big, fat, stinky Jezebel that's in him, that demon has spent over a year of trying to delete me and use spiritual attacks, as well as use the rest of the members in his little circle and group, then going to Charles L. Jr. to spin in his ear, and others to spin in their ears too, so they all can do spiritual attacks and crank up heavier spiritual attacks to try to delete me, because I wasn't gonna be bullied, disrespected, dishonored, as well as effeminized like a Ahab, like they are, being turned out into a wuss, a sissy, a whip, a soy boy, a beta male. He spent close to the year range of trying to delete me, and then turn around and get the rest of the leadership and the rest of the cronies over there who believe that kind of mess, all that gossip, tale-bearing and such, and rumors and so forth, to try to throw spiritual attacks at me, to try to send me backwards, to try to delete me, as well as to try to put fear on me and loose demons into my environments, to make it hard for me to even get ahead, to even save money, to make it so bad that no matter how hard I worked, I was barely just making enough to pay all the expenses I lived by, then to repair the vehicle because of the spiritual tax that was done to it and such, and then be ready for when the feast would come around. So with him, well, it's 2024, around that range, Tabernacles 2024. Wait a minute, just 2024, 23. So, if I remember correctly, it was about last year, around Tabernacles, based on the reports that I heard from a, shall we say, secondary hand source, where Son Walton's stepson passed away on one of those lands. If it's correct, it was Straitway, Alabama, where he was at, that he passed away. So what does that mean? That means that, sure, you can say a couple things to it as well too, but what matters here is that junior, he lost his life. And here's the thing, they love Rashawn Walton so much. I'm talking about they man worship him like Jim Jones. You know, like how Jim Jones was man worshipped? He was turned into a golden calf. Instead of the people praising the Father, or even saying Jesus, or thinking Jesus, they were basically thinking Jim Jones. That's how bad they were sucked into Rashawn Walton. That's how bad their man worship was. So that young child, if I remember correctly, he's around his teenage years or so, or coming up to his years in the range. He passed away on one of those lands, Straitway, Alabama, if it is so. And as a result, because they love Rashawn Walton so much, they swept it underneath the rug. Just like how they try to sweep underneath the rug how Daniel Muir assaulted his son, Bryson Muir. So all these deaths of Straitway Truth Ministry, Charles O. Jr. will try to sacrifice you or get you deleted, then blame it on you. even if he doesn't like you.